Now, my boy Tim Duncan, your time have come. Now, I do think Tim Duncan a top 5 power forward of all time. 5 championships, 2 MVPs, elite defense. You can't argue that. But greatness don't automatically mean a better player. When you break down peak, responsibility, context, and production, Giannis clears, and I can't believe people think he don't. Let's get into the facts. Before we do, like, comment, and subscribe if you're new, and let's get into it. Now we're going to start off with some simple facts, alright? Giannis have had to do more offensively than Tim Duncan ever had. Giannis is the primary scorer, ball handler, and playmaker for the Bucks, all while being a defensive anchor. Whereas Tim Duncan played in one of the most structured systems ever with elite guards creating his offense, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, even Kawhi Leonard later. Don't forget he played with David Robinson. He's not a guard, but he played with David Robinson early in his career. Here go a fact to prove my point. Giannis has had multiple seasons above a 32% usage rate, whereas Tim Duncan rarely crossed 27%. That tell you all you need to know about who does more offensively for their team. On the topic of offense, let's talk about them as scorers. This one not close in my opinion, but I'm going to bring out the numbers for y'all. Giannis' career average is 23 points per game, whereas Tim Duncan's career average is 19. Now, yes, that's only a 4-point difference, but obviously Giannis is still in his prime, so his points per game is going to continue to climb. In his peak seasons, he averaged around 29 to 31 points per game, whereas Tim Duncan averaged 25.5 in his career high season. Now, don't get me wrong, Tim Duncan was an efficient scorer, but he was never a volume scorer. Giannis can dominate the game without needing perfect spacing or perfect post position. He don't got to get set up in a PNR by elite guards. He can get the ball in transition and go. He can score from the wing, from the elbow, can shoot the three better than Tim Duncan. If you ask me, he's just a better all-around scorer than Tim Duncan. So because Giannis is still playing today, we're going to have to use Giannis' peak versus Tim Duncan's longevity. And that's what people usually lean towards is Tim Duncan's longevity. And yes, he was great for a long time. But this debate specifically is going to have to be peak versus longevity. And in Giannis' peak, which I would say is 2019 to 2022 so far, he has had 2 MVPs, a depoy, and a finals MVP. And Tim Duncan, in that short of a span, has never reached that level of two-way dominance in his career. So yes, he was great for a long time, but at their best, Giannis was clearly the better player. Now, while I do want to move away from the topic of offense, I also want to say that Tim Duncan was rarely asked to run the Spurs offense. He benefited greatly from Tony Parker penetration, Manu Ginobili shot creation, and just elite spacing and ball movement under Greg Popovich's system. Here go a fun fact. Tim Duncan never averaged more than 4 assists per game, whereas Giannis averaged 5 to 6 multiple times while also being the leading scorer for the Bucks. That just goes to show you how much more his offensive load was than Tim Duncan. Now I want to move over to the defensive side of the ball, and if you do decide to watch my channel, you're going to see that context matters a whole lot. Tim Duncan is often regarded as one of the best defenders ever, but if you look at the context, he played in a slower, post-heavy era with fewer perimeter switches and less space in the cover. Let's be honest, Tim Duncan is a great interior defender, but if you bring him 15 feet away from the basket, he can't guard a parked car. I'm going to just keep it a buck. Now somebody like Giannis, who has to play in an era with 5-out and constant PNR, elite shooters all over the court, he won depoy while guarding guards, wings, and centers. And Tim Duncan has never had to consistently switch and guard guards in big moments. This part surprised a lot of people. I bet y'all didn't know Tim Duncan never won a Defensive Player of the Year award. And there's a reason for that, because he can't guard 10, 15 feet away from the basket. Meanwhile, Giannis won depoy while being the league best scorer. Giannis combined elite offense and elite defense at the same time. Tim Duncan never did that. Now, I know the old gen love to talk about championships, rings this, rings that. Tim Duncan do got 5 of them. But let's take a closer look at Tim Duncan 5 rings. Tony Parker, Hall of Famer. Manu Ginobili, Hall of Famer. David Robinson, Hall of Famer. Kawhi Leonard, Finals MVP, future Hall of Famer. Greg Popovich, greatest coach of all time, Hall of Famer. Whereas Giannis won with Chris Middleton, one-time All-Star, Drew Holiday, also a one-time All-Star. Giannis had far less help and won a championship with a team that Tim Duncan would have never won a championship with. Now let's talk individual finals performances, and for me, this sealed the whole championship thing. The fact that Giannis still playing obviously mean that he got a smaller sample size for the NBA Finals, so we're going to go with his one appearance in 2021 and compare that against Tim Duncan's peak in the Finals. Giannis' appearance in 2021, he averaged 35 points per game, 13 rebounds per game on 61% from the field, whereas Tim Duncan in his peak averaged 24 points per game and 17 rebounds per game in a lower efficient series. Now, if you're confused as to why I brought those stats up, That means that Giannis in his one finals appearance was better than Tim Duncan was in the finals at any point in his career. Another fact that simply can't be argued is Tim Duncan was never the best athlete on the court in his career, whereas Giannis is often the best athlete on the court. Giannis create offense without plays being called transition, running, dunk, that's what y'all call them, whereas Tim Duncan needed structure. He had to be in the post, in a system. You can't scheme athletic dominance, and that's what Giannis is, something else Tim Duncan didn't have. I mean, at this point, you can't deny Tim Duncan's longevity, and you obviously can't deny his consistency. You do have to admit that he played in the perfect system, so context does matter. But you also can't deny that Giannis has had a higher peak, more responsibility, less help, more pressure, and more dominance, and that's why Giannis is better. But this is my favorite thing about basketball. You can debate, you can agree, you can disagree. That's actually why I make this channel, because I love to debate basketball. So if you disagree, please comment, don't hesitate. Like the video, subscribe for more, and I'm out.